Radio. I'm Annette McCoy, and with me at the beginning of every month is Janet Hickox.
Hello.
And Janet absolutely delights in talking astrology, and I believe that, especially today, Janet has lots and lots of notes to share with us about the North and the South nodes and Jupiter. Is that right, Janet?
Venus.
Oh, sorry,
changing.
Venus, wrong one.
That's all right. It's a benefic. You were in the right area.
Oh, that's helpful. So wherever you are, thank you for joining us. And if you would like to join us on the Angel Heart Radio Facebook page, then we can see your comments. And maybe you'll have a question or two for Janet, because Janet's very, very adaptable and loves to answer questions. So
I do.
Please come on.
Yay.
Oh, so Janet, lots of notes, and my head is always spinning because you are a fount of information. I always learn things when I'm on with you. So
I tend to pull things like information out from everywhere. And yes, so I hope most of the time it doesn't get overwhelming for people, but that's why I try to break it down to make it understandable. Notes actually do help me do that.
Cool. All right. Well, let's see how we do today.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have something fun coming up here in the next couple of weeks. It's funny. I've been trying to push the month ahead so far. It's funny, like time got lost on me because next week I'm gone on vacation for the week. So everything in my mind has been that week is already gone. And I'm already thinking about, well, when I come back, the week of the 17th. And so here's today, it's only the 5th. And I was telling people, oh yeah, next week I'm doing my meetup, but I'm not. It's the week after. Hopefully people will understand. I've just lost a little bit of time. But in 2 weeks, yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm sure people will be very understanding.
Yes, thank you. So in 2 weeks from yesterday, the North and the South node, which are sort of the representation of the collective direction that we're moving, or what we need more of, or what we want more of. And the South node, the things that we want to release or let go of, are moving from the signs of Taurus and Scorpio, where they've been for the last 18 months, and into the signs of Aries and Libra. So this is a shift that will be happening on July 18th, my July 18th. So it must be your July 19th, and will be in effect until January 11th of 2025. So for 18 to 19 months. Yeah, it gives us, the nodes, they're really representing, we have nodes in our own personal astrology charts that represents our personal path of destiny, our life path trajectory, if you'd like to have a different set of terminologies for it. But then we also collectively are moving with the changing nodes. And it's the nodes and their placement that kind of tell us where the eclipse patterns are going to be. So while we have had the nodes in Scorpio and Taurus, that's where the eclipses have been, in Scorpio and Taurus. And now that we're shifting, they will be in Aries and Libra up until the point we shift back to Pisces and Virgo. So which of course is about 19 months from now. So we have this longer period of time. And the signs that are hosting the eclipses then show us the direction that changes may occur, where upsets may occur, where we need to embrace more and where we need to release more. So the North node, if you will, kind of directs us forward to what challenges us or to creates a consciousness evolution, right? So think of the North Node as collectively the evolution of our species, the evolution of humanity, where the South Node kind of directs us to what we have to let go of. It can represent prior life karma, but mostly what no longer serves us, right? We're here with the South Node to process, integrate, release. Like, boom, it's out of our experience. But it's not like it's gone and we just escape from it either. It's not that at all. It's that we are integrating the things that we learned from the South Node, but firmly planting our feet forward, moving toward the North Node, right? So when we're looking at the nodes, we have to understand what the sign is that it's in and what it means to have that node moving through that sign. But then we also want to know for our personal charts what house it's moving through, because that's the impact it's going to have on you personally. So for example, an Aries North Node or Aries North Node transiting through your chart is moving through a house. So for 18 months, the issues around that house or area of your life is going to be uppermost in your, it's kind of in your face, right? It's there for you to deal with. And as well, the South Node in the opposite sign will be in the opposite house. So that house will also be front and center, or that area of your life. And it should be sort of the releasing end of that energy. Okay. Does that make sense?
It does. Yes. But it's such a long time, isn't it? Wow.
Yes, it is a long time. And the nodes don't, like everything else in astrology, right? The planets move counterclockwise around the chart, but the nodes move clockwise around the chart. So they back into a sign. So they don't start at 0 degrees of Aquarius, of Aries. It'll start at 29 degrees of Aries. So we always want to think of the nodes as moving from the highest degree to the lowest degree. So it really is, if you think of the degrees as the higher order of expression of the energy of a sign, right, of Aries, 0 being the newest, youngest, freshest energy of it, and the 29th degree being the most set energy. And what we likely need to move through, right? There's going to be some challenges in that 29th degree. And moving forward, when we get to the end of a transit of the North Node or the South Node, either one, we have a new understanding of the energy of that sign, of the house it's been in our chart, and how that has impacted our life, both collectively, but also individually. So it really is, it's an important thing to note, right? It's an important thing to note. And I don't mean to make it sound confusing or complex, because it really isn't. A lot of stuff that might happen over these next 18 months will be sort of out of our hands, right? We don't necessarily have the ability to collectively control the North Node or the South Node, but we can, with our own individual response to the things that are happening, take a sort of command. And, with a preponderance of people moving in a direction, we know we're going to shift the tide, or we're going to move the energy in a new direction. And everything in Aries is new. It's the first sign of the zodiac. Right. And even though we're starting at the 29th degree with this transit, everything is new and possible. I like that.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, Aries, the sign, the North Node here is going to take on a bit of a spiritual warrior or a warrior nature. So we have warrior or we have spiritual warrior. I think I was trying to water it down a bit because Because I didn't want people thinking it's a foregone conclusion that there's war or there's, annihilation coming. It's not that at all. But Aries is ruled by the planet Mars. So we have Martian energy. Martian energy is decidedly masculine and it's pushing out energy. So it's, dynamic, it's moving. And warrior is a good description of Aries energy. They could be a warrior for spirit. They could be a warrior for a just cause. They could be a warrior for getting what they want out of their lives. There's a lot of different ways we can, think of energies around warriorship. It could be a warrior for what's new, right? What I'm really looking forward to, Annette, is breaking up of some of the stagnant energies that we've been dealing with. Because it seems like for a very long time, we've been dealing with certain kinds of energies where we've gotten entrenched or we've gotten stuck. And as much as we've seemingly wanted to make changes and move ahead, the old keeps dragging us backwards, or we have, certain things that are so big, like institutions, for example, that are so big that we can't really affect much change in them, especially while the nodes were moving through a fixed set of signs. Fixed meaning I don't want to move, right? I don't want to do anything different. I like it where I am. It's comfortable. But now with Aries and Libra, we don't have comfort anymore. We have let's move, right? Let's take those next steps. It is a sign that will kind of liberate us from our stuckness on a collective level. Now, some people are going to find that really exciting. Others are going to find it really distracting or very hard to take because, different people like things different ways. Some people just like it when things aren't changing, when they stay the same. Other people really, thrive on change, and it's going to be the thrive on change energy that we need to adopt for these next 18 months. But in this process, it's not just where you're stuck, but it's also letting go of old, rigid patterns, things that have become entrenched within us, within our society, within our culture, within our beliefs, patterns or philosophies and things like that. So it's really going to be a lot of fiery energy. And let's face it, when we're talking Aries, we're not talking a very mature energy, right? We're not talking about, Sagittarian who's got maturity in terms of knowledge and how we apply what we know or what we've learned. The beauty in Aries is it's new, it's young, it's fresh, it's untried, it's doesn't have any preconceived notions about what it can or can't do. It's just bold and it's stepping forward. So we have this energy of stepping forward, of movement for these next 18 months or so. Now, this is also the sign of the individualist, of independence, of self-motivation. So does it mean that we have then 7 billion people on the planet, each trying to get their own way and go in their own direction and, be independent? And yeah, it does, unfortunately or fortunately. But we can also see how we can create new patterns and new ways of being together with Aries energy, because it isn't necessarily afraid to take those steps, to do something different. Okay.
Right.
Are you okay with this?
I'm okay with it. Yes. Yes.
The Scorpio.
So in some cases, it means stepping out of our comfort zone.
In all cases, we will be faced with that, because even the people like me, a mutable sign who moves and grows and shakes at the drop of a hat, have places where I don't want to move.
Sure.
Right, where I'm uncomfortable in change. So yes, change is in the atmosphere for everybody. And that means we might also have to come face to face with our patterns of stuckness. Like, why am I stuck here? Is it a fear? It could be, right? Is it an old belief? Is it a past life influence? Because it can be that too. So we're going to definitely be dealing with all of this stuff. And that also means that we're going to have to watch out for a few things. We're going to have to watch out, number one, for defensiveness, right? Because when somebody presents us with a new thing, like in this country now, the courts are making all of these different judgments, and now we are faced with a new reality, right? And I'm sure it's happening all over the world, so it's not just us, but
Right.
you're faced with that new reality, but you go kicking and screaming, and you attempt to do things to defend yourself from that new reality. So we have to watch out for defensiveness. We also, and that is going to apply to our personal relationships as well, right? Because I'm not the only one that's going to be a warrior, right? So is my spouse. So is my friend. So is my daughters, my son, right? We're all everybody's taking on this warrior kind of energy, which means that we might all have issues around becoming defensive, right? If someone's pushing us, if someone's getting beyond our boundaries. And we'll also have to watch our warlike behavior, because this is a warmongering kind of sign, right? It is not afraid to take up arms and take up the cross and move forward, charging into a conflict. So we'll have to watch that. We'll have to watch out for global conflict in that case. There are hotheads that are prevailing perhaps during this period of time. But also, and this is the part that I find so exciting, because it feels like we've been entrenched in this stagnant energy for several years. We might just have new heroes that emerge from this time period, new visionaries, new artists, new ideas that propel us forward, right? Instead of holding us back. And maybe, getting encouraged to fight for a more a prosperous future, or just for a better future, right? Rather than being lackadaisical or, stagnant.
Right.
This is the antidote to stagnant, right? Is that this is pushing forward. So here are some questions like, now, how is that going to affect you personally, right? Everything we just talked about will affect you personally, sure, but it's also the bigger, wider truth of the energy for the next 18 months. So for you personally, what is your personal mission? What drives you, right? Dial it in, make it clearer, take action on it. That's going to be your job, right? That's going to be what you need to do. You can't just sit back and wait and see. It'll be time for taking that action on that mission. And you can't even settle for, I don't know what my mission is. You can't.
Well, Janet Allison has joined us, and she says, when I think of Aries, I think I'm not putting up with your BS.
Boom, boom, boom. There's that. Yeah. And, there's an element of standing up for ourselves here, comes up with Aries energy. What are you willing to fight for? That's another question we can all be asking ourselves. What are we willing to fight for? And I don't mean like fist fight or ugly fight, but what are you willing to stand up and be counted, right? I will not tolerate children going to bed hungry, right? That if that's your line in the sand, then do something about it. With whatever's in your means, right? In whatever way you can. But that is the thing that we'll have to be doing. Getting dialed in on what it is that our life mission is, or our life purpose. That's another way to look at this. Make it clearer if you can.
I'm going to cut across you, because Allison says, speaking as a Sagittarius.
Oh, I know what Allison this is. Hello, Allison. Speaking as a Sagittarius, a fire sign, right? And this is fire energy. So this actually will be energy that trines your Sagittarius sun at some point. I think you're the 14th of December, is it, or something? So middle, I don't remember the exact dates, but whenever this node gets, going in Aries, it's going to set off the trine and ignite, if you will, some of that passion and that fire energy that will help you apply yourself in new ways to new things and your life mission. A good question, again, for everybody to ask themselves is, how do you want to invest your vital force energy or your life force energy? Right? Doing what you've always done, which, by the way, probably isn't working, or breaking out into new territory, investing your time, your energy, and your resources into creating something new and meaningful for you. If it's meaningful and new for you, it's going to also add to the new and the meaningful for the collective.
Okay, so we're impacting on ourselves. We're also impacting on the people around us, the rest of the world.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Now, this also brings us into higher ethics, which Sagittarius, Allison, you're already in a sort of resonance with. So what we'll need to do is release victimhood or victim energies. We've heard this before too, by the way. This isn't like new. So victim energy, by that I mean fear, feeling like you have no choices, and not making a choice because you don't know what to do. I mean, you still are making a choice. Even if you make no choice, you're making a choice. The choice is to not act. And this is about us charging into the new, like moving into it. And it might also mean that we have to have some patience with ourselves and others, because we're all muddling through how to become these things. How do we become independent? One of the things that I was noting in this country that I find right up in alignment with this is the relaxing of affirmative action, which was in colleges and universities, which was trying to keep a multicultural impact in a college, right? So that all races had a certain percentage of people represented. And while that has worked, haven't we gone beyond that, right? This is where we have to go beyond that, because that's holding us to a victim energy, the victim of being Black in America or being Latino in America. And while it's true, there are still struggles around that, the fact of the matter is, if we don't release the victim-y energy around it, we don't solve the problem. So it's just, it's so fascinating to watch these things unfold in, our world. I don't watch your politics so much, but I bet you could think of things like this that are happening in your country, where it feels like this right of affirmative action is being taken away in this country. But in fact, it's really pointing us in a way to become independent, to be self-sufficient, to rely on your own wits and your own creativity and your own passion, by releasing the victim of your race or of the things that have happened in the past. I'm not saying it's perfect, right? I'm not saying that at all. I just feel like if we don't let go of those old, outworn paradigms, for lack, I'm not sure what else to call them, we won't move forward. And this is definitely needing to be, we're charging ahead, right? So you either go along with it or you get left behind, kicking and screaming and still wondering what the heck happened. What happened to my LP, vinyl radio, or vinyl records, right? I don't know how to stream on Pandora or Spotify, right? So you either get lost, or by holding yourself back, or you move ahead and you just say, okay, I'm in it. I'm moving forward.
Alison says it's time for big girl panties.
That would be a great way of putting it, Allison. Time to put your big girl panties on and your big boy pants. Definitely time. And becoming more self-sufficient, right? Self-sufficient, independent. And that also means, like, first, responsible. Yeah, that's another good word, which also means that in the collective outer world, what we're likely going to see is a change in how big governments are going to be allowed to be, or how big corporations are going to be allowed to be. Like we already have heard about, is there the need to break up a Google or a Facebook or Amazon or, these big companies? Have they gotten too big? So there may be energies around that we'll notice, changes in the dynamics of how big an entity is and how much control it can have over the day-to-day life. And, we haven't had this energy for 18 and a half years. So the last time was back in 2005, 2006. And at that time, there were big issues around Facebook and Google and Amazon. And these, it's like the problem came to light, or the problem began to grow and build, and then it comes along again, and now we can course correct it. But we also have to look at the South Node, because the South Node is holding the what do I need to release, and it's in Libra. Now, this is a tough one because Libra stands for justice and fairness and peace and diplomacy and social niceties. And that is the bucket of things that we have come to know that is being dumped out. Not that we aren't going to have peace or can't have peace, not that we won't have justice or fair play, but we have to learn to let go of the binding dogmas that have been created that support restrictions, or that support us not being independent or being empowered. And here's another big one that we have to let go of: complacency. Thinking it's somebody else's problem, right? Thinking that it's somebody else's problem and there's nothing I can do about it, and so I'm not going to do anything about it. Let me just turn on Netflix again and disappear or escape into some program, right? So that is a thing that...
Londa has joined us, and she said that we need a new, higher way to navigate life. We need to think about unity.
Most definitely. But before we can have unity, we have to allow independence. We have to allow individuality. We have to understand that just because you are different from me doesn't mean that we aren't the same, right? We're just different sides of the same coin. So it's an interesting process. This really, all these pairs, whatever signs that the nodes are across, are duality, right? There's a duality inherent in them. And in Aries, it's all about the individual. It's about the I am. But Libra, on the other side, is about the we are. So we can't have the we are without the I am. We can't have the I am without the we are. So how do we merge these together? How do we, work these in new ways? How do we work these energies? And, one of the things that we'll find, and this will be interesting because, it's going to bear out over time in these 18 months or so ahead of us, loosening the grip of the behemoth companies, the behemoth government, the behemoth institutions that we are all engaged with at times, the madmen that are at the top of governments or at the top of corporations, the megalomaniacs, right, that are out there believing that they can count on our complacency to take over the world, or to take over your government, or take over your schools, or take over your, what you fill in the blank. So we really have to drop the escaping things that we've done and engage. This is engaging energy, not let's, drop to the bottom of the bottle, or, turn on Netflix. Get engaged. Get engaged. Now, also during this period of time, as I said, you have to also look at where is this going on in your own personal chart, because it's going on in a pair of houses, and houses are the areas of your life that we talk about. So, for example, in my chart, Aries is in my 10th house, Libra is in my 4th house. So for me, that is the career and home, more traditional types of energies that that the North Node transit will be impacting, right? So I can expect changes in my career, my profession. It's already started. How I do, what I do, am I going to do it? All of those questions coming up for me. Let's see. Do you know what your rising sign is, Annette?
No. Sorry, Janet.
Don't be sorry. Let's just find out, shall we? Let's do Astro and see if we can't find, because I know I have you in my program. Let's just find you. And I'll tell you, because I bet it's a different axis than it is in mine.
Right.
And then we can talk about other people's if they would like to find that out too.
All
So
right.
let's see. McCoy. How did I spell it? There we go. Okay, so your rising sign is Capricorn. So
Ah.
that means your Aries and Libra are going to be across the, oh, why does it keep doing this? Now, things are changing with programs. Like everything that I always defaulted to is now different. Like the house relationships are different.
Right.
The bodies that are in those houses different. So uh, you do not have a Capricorn rising. You have a Sagittarius rising.
Mm.
And that puts Libra and Aries across your 11th and your 5th house, with Aries being in the 5th house and Libra being in the 11th. So the 5th house is about joy and creativity and love and romance and new relationships and taking some risks and stepping outside of your comfort zones.
Yay.
Yay. And what are you releasing? Well, it might be because the 11th house is about friendships and people that you are aligned with through associations or clubs or groups. Those might be the places where change is coming,
Mm-hmm.
right? Where you might have to find other people that you want to hang out with. It's also place where our dream is, like our goals or our vision, aspirations, and things like that. So you may find that also morphing a bit over time as you let go, maybe, of something you always thought was a dream, only
Right.
to embrace something that makes you feel more joyful, more in love with something, right? So
Right.
I also wouldn't put out of the question a love interest
Oh, there you
possible.
go. Mm-mm.
I mean, you go on
Inter
enough trips, you would think you'd meet interesting men.
Well, you would. You would indeed. And I
Yeah,
do.
yeah.
But not
See,
anyway. Now Londa and Alison have
uh-huh.
put their hands up. Londa will need to, yes, Londa's asking you for you to look her up. And Alison is saying, well, you already know my houses and know what I'm working on, especially since my Chiron return was recently.
Yes. Well, I still have to look at the chart because all of this is based on how the chart is aligned. So, for example, in Londa's chart, Londa has a Leo rising, which puts Aries on her 9th house and Libra on her 3rd house. So here is an energy that I think is fascinating because it can be all about um, writing, speaking, engaging in publishing, teaching, learning. And what she's releasing, what she's moving toward would be the higher order of education, right? The higher spiritual concepts, the engagement at the level of the divine, while releasing the 3rd house, which would be the lower mind, right? The mind, the level of the mind,
Mm-hmm.
and engaging the higher divine mind. So that is the house. But there's also a lot of good luck here in that for you as well, Londa. I think that's fascinating to look at too. I keep hitting the wrong button. So let me go look at Allison, and I can let her know where hers is. Allison, do I have you under Alice maybe? Yes, I do. And 1 minute and I'll have yours up for you.
Oh, you're amazing.
So Allison is a Cancer rising, and that puts her Aries and Libra in the same place as mine, across the 10th house of career and profession. How do I express my authority in the world, and letting go of the 4th house, which might be safety and security. Oh, I got to think about that one for me too. What's been safe instead of what is true and authentic, right? So there might be some expression of that in the work that you're doing, or changing of the way that you work, or the changing of the way you bring out your authority in the world. So that's kind of a good place for that to be. Although all of these energies, we have to, if we want to go to the highest potential, we have to actually engage them. We can't just sit back and go, yep, let's let it happen, because it probably won't, right? The opportunities will be there, but you'll just let them pass you by. And before you know it, right, now the nodes have moved on somewhere else, and you're left behind a bit, or left in catch-up mode. Because remember, this is really about doing something new action. That's the key, new action, which, by the way, is not probably what we've been doing, because if we had, we wouldn't be worried about where we are. We'd have already, right? We'd already be zooming forward and, doing what we want to, breaking into new territory, and, living life on our own terms, which a lot of people are not doing, right? They think they're doing it, but when it comes right down to it, if you ask them, are you doing what you love? Most people would say, I'm doing what I have to do to survive. Right? So totally different feel to the energies as they come up over these next few months. Yes. All right. Any other questions out there? How about you? Any questions from you about what?
No. Oh, Londa loves this. Isn't she gorgeous? Thank you, thank you, thank you, Londa. We love having you here too.
I miss her.
And Alison saying, Janet, on a personal note, get rid of all the papers in my house. Oh, she got rid of all of the papers in her house. Woo!
That's a way to start, right? You make room for something else, right? Something, not more paper, but something else. And that's right. She had lots of stuff she was going through. I remember that when we did your reading, Allison.
Yes, and we do feel lighter, don't we, when we're able to clear away whatever it might be.
Yeah. Yep, indeed. But we just want to remember that this is fire energy. Aries is fire energy, and fire energy can burn. Right? For all of my fire signs out there, the Sagittarians, the Leos, the Aries, this is energy that's going to engage you at the level of passion and self-expression and being your true and authentic self. And it can also create a pathway to burnout. So you'll have to be careful that you monitor your energy, that you're doing things the right way. I would also say it's a great time to review your human design and make sure that you are living out your strategy and your authority, so that you're making decisions that are good for you and not just leapfrogging from one thing to another. So there's that. And as well, when we look at the sign of Aries and where in your human design the planet is going to move, or the node is going to move, right now it's at the gate 3. So we're in the process of reinventing. or becoming inventive or innovating ourselves. And that's actually been impacting us already, because the nodes in human design shifted a couple of weeks ago. Not necessarily shifting signs like Aries and Libra, but shifting gates. And the first gate that we hit in Aries is the gate 3, which is on the sacral center and is all about action that's new, that's innovative, that is untried, unproven, right? We have to step out and try. We have to risk failure, right? We have to risk doing something different. And sometimes that means there's a little bit of trouble getting traction under our feet as we're starting to move forward. So that's where we begin in human design, this transit. And then we move to the gate 42, which is a gate of celebration.
Yay!
Celebrating, right? That we've made inroads, that we are, climbing that mountain. We're getting to the top, we can see, right? The next gate after that concerns me a little, because it's the gate of shock that next will be hit. And I have a feeling that's going to be mirrored to us from the outer world in some big ways. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but it could be good shocks, right? Shocks are designed to awaken us. So we have been complacent, we'll get a shock. That's going to wake us up. That's going to shatter that, oh, everything is okay the way it is. I don't think I'll do anything different. Right? Not going to happen. Then after that, we'll end up facing the gate of control and looking within to see how are we self-navigating? Are we trying to control every situation and every person around us, but not taking care of us first, right? Taking care of ourselves. Then we'll move to a gate that I love in the Gene Keys is omniscience, right? The ability to see the bigger picture and to put the pieces together. And finally, we end that transit at the gate of the love of spirit, right? It takes us on this very human journey of discovering that we are truly the embodiment of spirit. So that's the Aries end of this transit. The Libra end of this transit is going to be, sort of characterized by splenic energies, because of 5 out of the 6 gates of Libra are on the spleen, which, as we all know, is a center for time, intuition, and health, but also survival, which means that all of those energies can become fear gates, right? Paralysis points. So the first paralysis point we come to is tribal energy or community-oriented energy of defense. And it is called the gate of self-nurturing. But it is also a fear that if we don't control things, then somehow we'll fail in our responsibilities to our families or to our communities or to our, you fill in the blank. Then it moves to the gate of failure, right? Then after that, we're dealing with the idea of failure. What is failure? What does it mean to fail? What does it mean to succeed? Some people are afraid of success. Then we go to clarity, seeking intuition, the fear of the future. Then we go to the fear of not having an adequate amount of information. We need more info. We need more knowledge, more learning, more of those things that will give us information that presumably would make us feel more adept at knowing what we know and doing what we do, but can really be a bottomless pit, right? Where we're just continually seeking knowledge to fill ourselves up, to make us feel like we are adequate in what we know, but we never do anything with what we know. So we'll be dealing with that. Perfectionism. And then finally, the last gate for Libra is called the gate of the love of the physical. So we come full circle with the whole idea that we are embodied spirits, divine and human. So in human design, it's going to be an interesting time, as well as the astrology.
Now, Alison has a question. How will Pluto play with the nodes?
Well, at least initially, Pluto right now is in Capricorn. So until we get to January, I think what we do is we're seeing the jostling between the old embodied in Capricorn, right? The tried, the true, the boundaries, the foundation, the solidness, and the innovation. And Pluto's a transformer, so I still think we're seeing some transformation as, like, for example, here in the US with the Supreme Court changing fundamentally some of the things that we have cherished, right? Roe v. Wade, the right for a woman to have an abortion, upending that, upending affirmative action now, taking up voters' rights and things like that. So some of these energies that Pluto is dominating with right now is changing the landscape, changing things that have become unsustainable. And Aries innovates then so that we can move forward with something new. And that goes along with the Aquarian theme as well. Once Pluto's back in Aquarius, then these guys are synergistic. They're working well together, right? The risk, the ability to take risk, to do something new in Aries matches with Aquarian energy of looking to the future and getting out of its comfort zone because it sees the value of innovation. So it's going to work well. It's going to work well. It's going to be a little dicey, I think, at first. Pluto is sitting at the 29th degree, a karmic degree of the sign of Capricorn until late July. So we have a kind of a overrun of 29th degree energy. So we might have some explosive things that go on through the summer. Eruptions, let's say, of things, whether it's a real eruption of, say, a volcano or an eruption of people angry at something. So just beware. It's all in the service of change, likely for the better, but it takes time. It takes time. And, I hate to say this, but, wars are fought in these kinds of energies, right? Class warfare, social war, cultural wars, right? Right now there's this cancel culture and this wokeness that people are rebelling against, or at least the people that are kind of stuck in old patterns. They're rebelling against waking up and doing things in a more inclusive way or in a different way. And I'm not saying they're wrong either. I'm just saying, these are the things that are already lined up that that can likely lead to conflict, open conflict. Right. So interesting times we live in, right?
Well, Alison says, thank you.
You're welcome.
I can see up on your screen, Janet, your website, because
Indeed.
there might be people in the audience today who are unaware that you offer a free human design chart. If people would like to reach out via that website.
Absolutely. And it's a do-it-yourself chart. You can do it yourself. You don't have to wait for me to be able to find the time to do it. You just go in and you enter your birth information and it spits back out your human design chart and some really impressive information about you underneath that chart. So it's really kind of a cool program. And then as well, this one you do have to wait for me to be able to get to, and that is an astrology report and chart. So both are offered on the website. It's pretty easy to find them. And of course, the best way to know how these energies will impact you is to have a personal reading, a session to find out like what's going on in my chart. What's shaking loose, what's coming up, what do I need to let go of, what should I be aware of, and all of that, because there's so many different permutations of every person's chart and how this may show up. Like if you had a packed lots of planets, let's say in Aries, and the North Node is going to pass over every one of those planets, and your experience of an Aries North Node might be a whole lot more explosive, let's say, and change ridden than someone like mine, where it's only my midheaven in Aries. So
reach out.
reach
Well,
out.
it's interesting, Janet, because Alison makes a couple of comments, and one is definitely contact Janet. She's amazing, and
You
we at Angel Heart Radio know that. So thank you, Alison, for that. And Alison's saying, wasn't the planets relatively the same with the American Revolution?
yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Right, which is why in some respects I expect some kind of conflict. Now, does it have to be a war, like a civil war? I would say we're already in some sort of a civil war here in this country. But there were other wars going on at the time, right? The French Revolution happened at the same time the American Revolution was going on, or within, the same time period that Pluto was in Aquarius. So it's not just unique to the US. A lot of countries, go through these growth pains right along with the US. And the US goes through them with other countries as they go through their different astrological transits. So it's, we live in one world and we're all in this together. But I definitely see our Pluto return is sort of the signature, at least here in the US, behind a lot of the big things that are going on. And it's just going to be gaining some speed. And that's as it should be. As a country, we're maturing in a way that human beings do, but on a smaller scale, right? So the decisions you make now in your 60s and 70s, are not the decisions you would have made in your 20s and 30s because you have a more mature viewpoint. You've grown up. And that's kind of the thing here with the US too, is that, we made some really key decisions for whatever reasons we made them. Is that going to hold up and stand the test of time? We'll see.
Now, Rhonda's saying a birthday reading needed, please.
Definitely. Your birthday's coming up next month. No, this month. This is July already. Oh my God.
Yes, we're
If you
in
guys
July.
believe this morning, I finally turned my calendar to July. I did
Well
not.
done.
I looked up and I went, wait a minute, that's June. Probably should change that. But at any rate, yes, you need to do a birthday reading very soon. And there's also Venus turning retrograde this summer that I wanted to chat about. Now, Venus doesn't retrograde as often as, say, Mercury. So we're very familiar. I mean, it's in the regular vernacular, right? You say Mercury is retrograde and people are like, oh, I knew it. My computer died yesterday. Or, no wonder I'm having all these problems. So it's reached out into the general population that people know what Mercury retrograde is, but we don't all know, well, what's a Venus retrograde about? Because it just doesn't happen as frequently. But Venus is going to retrograde in the sign of Leo. So, Londa, definitely impacting you because that's the sun sign that you are born under. And Allison, you as well, as Sagittarius is a fellow fire sign. And so there's an impact there. But all of us being impacted because we all have Leo somewhere in our charts, right? And we all have the planet Venus transiting through Leo. And the difference would be the planets it's interacting with, the house that it's in as it transits, and that's your own natal Venus and how it's set up. So lots of different factors that I can really only talk to you about in a session, in a reading. And yet we can get some generalization. So for example, Venus is retrograde from July 22nd until September 3rd. That's the retrograde part of the cycle. And she is retrograding from 28 degrees of Leo back to 12 degrees of Leo. So if you have planets in that span of degrees in Leo, or any sign for that matter, you're probably going to have some kind of impact. That's a lot of people, right? That's, a lot of people. Like, don't think many people escape this one. Now, the whole Leo Venus adventure runs from June 5th, which we've already passed, to October 8th. And then she'll move out of Leo and into Virgo. So we still have several months, July, August, September. Yeah, we still have 3 months basically of Venus in Leo. Now, Leo is a sign of self-expression. So that is the number one thing that Venus will be zoning in on. How do you express yourself? How do you express your creativity and your passion? Are you able to live from your heart's desire? Or are you constantly doing what you think makes other people happy, or doing what you think you have to do versus what you really love or what you really want to do? So interesting. I had a conversation once with a Leo young woman. She was only 21, I believe it at the time. And she was telling me about all this wonderful stuff she wanted to do with her life. And I said, go out and do it. Right? I can see you doing this. And she's like, yes, sure. Right. I don't have the money. I don't have the time. She gave me a whole litany of things. That's the negative side of Leo, right? When you let go of your heart's desires, because it appears that in this moment it's unattainable or unreachable, right? You let go of your own good. You let go of your dreams. So we want to keep that, and we want to keep that fire burning, and we want to keep moving forward with our heart's desires. This is about love and romance. It's about our relationships. It's about you being the king or the queen of your own domain, which is your life, right? Be your own queen. So during the retrograde, live your own personal style, but it may be going under a reevaluation period. You might be changing the colors you wear, or the makeup that you wear, or if you're a woman, or the hairstyle you have. The things that you are drawn to, that you like to wear, or the beautiful things that you like around you, may undergo a period of change. It might even be time to shake it up somewhat, right? Shake it up, be daring. Right? I had a more daring shirt on until I went, no, I can't wear this online on air. So I unshook myself a little out of what I was wearing. This is also a time in Venus retrograde where our past love interests, our exes, if you will, our old flames somehow come back into our lives, whether that's through, seeing each other on Facebook, or an email, or a phone call, or a chance meeting on the street. Those kinds of things happen. This will be a time for you to experiment with yourself, your looks, your relationships, your values, what you value, your own self-worth and your self-confidence. Everything when a planet is retrograde comes back into the individual for reevaluation. And it's time for you to extract the authentic you. That's what the Venus retrograde will be bringing up. And whatever house that is in your chart, for example, is where that will play out. Londa, you have a Leo rising. So Venus is in Leo this whole time. So it's your first house that you're undergoing this process, right? Which is very personal. It is a personal reformation, if you will, a transformation. It can be about your personal style, your personal viewpoint, who you let in your life, who you let out of your life. Those kinds of things are all changing. Let's see. Now I got to remember yours, Miss. Let's see. You were rising. Hold on. I still have it open. I probably can get to it. Let's do Allison's first, since I have her chart right there. Allison, for you, Leo is in the second house. It's all going to be about money. It's going to be about resources, more important than just money, your time, your energy, your confidence, your values, and realigning those things for yourself. And let's see if I can go back to Annette. There you are. Go. Annette, Leo on your ninth house. So for you, it will be about seeing the bigger picture, the broader energy of your life. It's a very optimistic placement for you. It is also, about your philosophies and your beliefs about love, about money, about who you are in the world, about what you can enjoy, what you can't enjoy. Lots of, movement toward the heart for you that will take place in a generating a higher viewpoint of that, of yourself, even in the world. So that just gives us some ideas of where these things might be happening for each of you.
Well, thank you, Janet. What an
I can't believe I did all that
inspiring
in an hour.
session.
You
You've
got all
done
that out in an hour.
extremely well, because we've asked you questions along the way and you have managed to do it all as usual. So
Got it done. Got it done. But again, if people have questions, you can go to my Living Astrology Facebook page and ask the questions there. I do broadcasts on Monday mornings and Friday mornings that are live on YouTube or Facebook. So you can go there and ask questions or just learn more, right? People want to learn. And be kind and gentle with yourself. If you're fairly new at astrology or human design, you'll get it. It just, I can't teach everything in the 1 hour that I'm on air on Mondays and on Fridays. Reach out. You're like, I want to leave everybody with this phrase: extract the authentic you. Extract it, pull it out from inside, pull it out and live it.
Yes. What a great idea.
I think so.
Well, Janet, thank you. Thank you to everyone who has joined us, especially Londa and Alison. Thank you very much for your contributions. Londa, have a wonderful, wonderful birthday. And Janet, have a lovely week away.
Thank you very much. See you guys next month.
Yes. Oh, my goodness me. And the year is buzzing past. I understand completely what you mean about the calendar, because I too looked up there and went, oh, I think I need to change.
Isn't it funny? I was like, oh my gosh. But then it was a holiday weekend here. So I wasn't really sitting at my desk and seeing that my calendar hadn't changed. So I have reasons.
It's very easy to get sidetracked, isn't it? And forget those little things.
Minor detail, turn the calendar.
Yeah, that's right. All right, everybody. Thank you, Janet. And
thank you, Annette.
I'll see you next month. And thank you, audience. I'll be with you next week with Marnie Perner. Bye for now. Put that
bye, everybody.
Forward.
Indeed. Extract the authentic you.